lot of us, we're not in the Army or in the armed forces, but we feel like we're soldiers sometimes. We're kind of beaten up by life. And if you feel that way, just give our prayer lines a call. Well, recently, the Salvation Army celebrated 125 years of ministry in Canada. And while they have many outreaches and projects, one of its youngest ministries will soon celebrate its 5th year in operation. The Warehouse Mission, a church outreach in the heart of downtown Toronto, has attracted some of the city's poorest citizens, showing them there is hope in the midst of their poverty. Recently, Magdalene John got to spend some time with the leaders of this outreach project and hear the stories of some of those that call the Warehouse Mission their home away from home.
On any given Sunday afternoon, anyone that lives in this Toronto area might hear worship music coming from this alleyway. Some might be surprised to know that those voices of praise are coming from a church that call this place home. This particular Sunday, over 30 people have turned up for worship service at the Warehouse Mission, all coming from various backgrounds of either living on the streets, living on social assistance, living in shelters or rooming houses, unemployed or underemployed. All have been brought together by Pastors Ron and Linda Farr.
5 years ago, I was the chaplain at the Salvation Army Gateway Shelter, which is a shelter for men in the downtown core. And a lot of the men who were moving on with their lives were coming up into this area and moving into the rooming houses.
This area is St. Jamestown, a neighborhood scattered with low-income housing and plenty of rooming houses. When Ron and Linda saw many of the men and women they worked with in the shelters turn back to their old lifestyles because there was no one in St. Jamestown offering support, they knew they needed help.
We approached Toronto Community Housing to see if there was any space that we could use. And we found that they had an old warehouse in a back alley, so hence the name Warehouse. We began to work there, primarily doing community building programs. And from there, it's really grown into a church.
A church and a family, offering meals, literacy programs, Bible studies, group meetings, and employment assistance. The Warehouse is a holistic ministry with the intent of empowering those that come through the doors.
The average person that we see coming into our programs, there's a large number of individuals that are dealing with mental health issues, that are dealing with past addictions and the results of past addictions, even if they've been able to recover from addictions. Some are challenged in reading and writing. One of our programs is a literacy program, not for new Canadians, but primarily for people who have been here all their life, who don't even have the ability to fill out a job application or prepare a resume. So it's largely those types of issues that have put them in the position that they're in.
But there is a catch. A lot of the programs are run by church members themselves, with little outside help.
We're not the Salvation Army coming in to help the poor. We are just here to provide what the poor cannot provide themselves. But they need to contribute themselves, and they do.
In the middle of the night,
that was proven a few years ago when a neighborhood fire tested the strength of the congregation.
Linda was in having eye surgery, and I was in Winnipeg at an integrated missions conference for our denomination. When I arrived in Winnipeg, I got a phone call saying that one of the rooming houses had burned to the ground, and 11 people that lived in that facility were now on the street, and we needed to help them. Well, my first reaction was, I got to get on a plane and help to make something happen. But I was told by the community here, Ron, you just continue with the conference. We have everything under control. We've opened up the warehouse. We have soup on. We're helping the people. We've called our emergency response vehicle. They're on the way. We've connected with other community groups who are also supporting. You just continue with your conference. So that was, to us, a real milestone, because it showed to us that the community had been empowered, and they did have the pride of ownership of their own community.
And after that, Ron and Linda knew their goal of creating a self-sufficient ministry had worked. The members were confident in knowing that they, too, had something to offer.
They can't give money, but They know how to, or can learn how to cook. They can help set up. They can assist others that are in need themselves. So that builds their pride because they become a contributor to society as opposed to a taker from society.
Tim is a prime example. With a history of living on the streets for most of his life, when we met him, he was volunteering at the warehouse kitchen and shared with us his current plan of starting his own business and employing other members of the warehouse. And so why do you come here every week?
I basically grew up on the streets, so it brings me back to my roots, as well as I'm able to give something back.
Can't find nothing bad to
Tim is just one example of many of the warehouse members. Like Calvin, one of the church guitarists, he has found purpose in his music since joining the warehouse.
I got involved with the warehouse through playing music on a secular basis, and I didn't want to do that anymore. And I wanted to play for the Lord, and he said that he'd promised me good things, and all the good things came to pass. That's why I'm here. And told me to join the Out in the Cold programs and reach the community by, you know, using the gifts that he gave me. And I started doing so, and the Lord's really helped me to be more of a person that I need to be instead of what I want to be.
And Sharon, once living on the streets, sleeping in churches during the day to stay warm, she is now studying culinary arts at George Brown College.
I take part in the Breakfast Club, which is on Saturday mornings. We feed the people that come off the street and that. And I'm in the Bible study program. So.
And what's that like, being in the Bible study program?
Oh, it's good. And then they've got a literacy program here, which I'm also involved in.
Okay. So what do you do in the literacy program?
I'm learning to take notes, spell, and all that.
Well, there's a river.
As Linda took us on a tour of St. Jamestown later that day to show us the neighborhood most of the church members call home, we saw how diverse it is, with million-dollar homes sitting right beside government-run rooming houses where 10 to 11 people share a house, each with their own room and shared bathroom and kitchen. How does the community feel about a Toronto housing, houses being in their community? Are they okay with it, or?
Well, they must be, because these homes, Toronto, the poor were here long before they were here. Okay, so they have moved in, so they must be
Okay,
as
with
long
their
as they're
neighbors.
back here, you know.
Right, right. Howard, who we met along the way, is also a member of the warehouse. He lived on the streets for 15 years before getting help.
I'd get a check of $9.30 at the time, or say for welfare that'd be $500. So I'd go out and just drink, or just spend it stupid, and not thinking, hey, house comes first or apartment.
But after a near-death experience, Howard decided he needed to turn his life around, and the warehouse was there to help when he finally made that decision.
Last year that I was on, or the last two roughly, I got pneumonia, and if I didn't take care of it, I would have died. So I thought, living in shelters, I just got to make up my mind, a house is better.
So now, with a roof over his head, Howard has been able to put those 15 years on the streets behind him. And that is what Linda and Ron are determined to show those that have preconceived notions of the homeless and the poor. Not all of them are looking for a handout. Some are simply looking for an opportunity.
The typical face of poverty that is seen is the person on the grate, or the person getting a handout in a kitchen somewhere, soup kitchen. But there's another face of poverty. There's the face of those who are living in victory, who are people of pride, who are people that have hopes and dreams, that, as I said before, want to be contributors and can be contributors, and have a quality in their own being that we need in our society, and often that's missed.
And I think for me, it's just the reminder that when God created us, He gave us all of us gifts. And so the people that He has brought to us in the community, each one of them are gifted. And so it's our responsibility to find that and then to use them in that role, in the role that God has gifted them in, even though they may be broken and even though they are still struggling in addictions. So little by little, we bring that beauty out in them.
That's what makes the warehouse so unique, creating a place and opportunities where those who are used to receiving can give back, learn of faith in God, and equip themselves to move forward and be happy with the life they have.
Jesus said that the poor will be with you always. And it is a lie to think that people are not going to be living in poverty. And it's helping people who are living in poverty, and frankly will die in poverty, to have a quality of life, to know that they can live a victorious Christian life in the midst of poverty.
And it looks like that message has gotten across. And their little church in the alleyway of St. Jamestown is true evidence of that. In Toronto, Ontario, Magdalene John, 100 Huntley Street.
Maggie, what an excellent report. Thank you for that. It's really exciting to see the Salvation Army